welcome back for this problem. And so this is the conclusion of surface area pyramids. We are now properly oriented. And now go to your notes. You notice that there are two of the exact same problem. Just cross off the 24 and write 30. Cross off that 12 and put 15. And then label the other side 12. Right? And then change that height to 8 centimeters, and then all is good. And then you can solve this problem where the other one is. You'll just have to adjust it a little bit so that you have enough space, because this one has a slightly different formula. If you don't like that space and that's not good enough for you, you can just attach a sticky note or another sheet of paper, because you're going to want notes on this one because it's the homework problem. Side 2, number 1. We have a rectangle and we have two different slants. So in your notes, I want you to write this formula for the rectangular pyramid. It's the only thing on there other than the pyramid. And so if those are not squares, I don't have 4 congruent triangles. I have 2 different triangles. All right? One that has a slant height that comes from 8 squared plus half of 30, or 15 squared, and one that comes from 6 squared plus 8 squared. Right? We have 2 different slants, which means we have 2 different triangles. They're not going to be the same. And I don't even have a 3-dimensional model to show you. Maybe I could make one. But they are not going to be, they're going to be, the opposite triangles will be congruent, but all 4 of them won't be. Okay, so first of all, let's find the slants. Okay, so we'll call the green slant, the one that's written in green, this is going to be slant number 1. Just come on, marker. Slant number 1. And there it comes. Oops. And it's all over the place. And I had oriented, probably because I couldn't see it the right. It still looks uphill, but that's good enough. All right, so that's going to be the half a side, but this time the half a side is 15. So 15 squared plus the height, which is 8 squared, is going to give us the slant squared. Right, so 15 squared is 225. 8 squared is 64. Add those together, and you're going to have 289. And the square root of 289, it is a perfect square, is 17. So this is a Pythagorean triple. It's the 8, 15, 17 Pythagorean triple. So that's one slant. So this slant here is 17, right? Because 8 squared plus 15 squared is 17 squared. Now we need slant number 2. I'm just going to put it underneath the triangle because I mean the pyramid. I ran out of space over there. So now slant number 2. My handwriting was a little bit too big. There we go. If I could see while I was writing, I wouldn't write so big. All right, so now we have 6 squared plus 8 squared equals slant. And actually, so we don't get confused, this is slant number 2. I'll put a little subscript there. That subscript just is labeling that as the other slant, and this was slant number 1. That's just a label. So we have slant 1 and slant 2. Just like thing 1 and thing 2. All right, so 36 plus 64 is slant number 2 squared, and that is going to give us 100, which is a perfect square. If we take the square root of both sides, I'll just do that right here, that's going to give us 10 is the slant. All right, so that is slant number 2. All right, so now when we calculate out our surface area, we still have one base. That base is a rectangle. Right? And we have one perimeter to find. Right? So the perimeter is going to be the same. However, our slant changes. So since the slant changes, I don't want to use the whole perimeter. right? Because there are two triangles that are going to have one slant and two triangles with a different slant. So for a rectangular pyramid, we have a special formula, and I've put that in your notes right there. Right? So the area of the base is the same, except I calculated it as a rectangle, not a square. But what's going to change on this one, because it's not a regular polygon, is that we're going to have to, instead of having perimeter times slant, we're just going to want half the perimeter. The two sides that have one slant, and plus the two sides that have the other slant. All right, so let's take a look at this formula. So we have the area of the base plus two triangles and two triangles. All right, so area of our base, that's easy. It's a rectangle, so that's 30 times 12. That's going to give us the bottom, and then we need to get the two different triangles measurements. So that is 360, whatever's, squared. All right, and now I have two different bases, right? So I have the 12 and the 30. The 12 goes with the 17, right? Because, oh wait, yes. The 12 goes with the 17, right? Because it's on that triangle. And the 10 goes with the 30 because it's on that triangle, right? So it's 30 and 10 are the measurements we use to calculate the area of one pair of triangles. And 12 and 17 are the measurements we use to calculate the other pair of triangles. And I'm really sorry I don't have this picture in your notes, because this is the most important problem on the whole on the whole thing. But just change the numbers, and I think it'll work out okay. And there's also a lot of space at the back of this. Right, so now let's plug into our formula here, and we'll get the area of this. No problem. We're almost done. So, our surface area is equal to the area of the base. That was 360. Plus 1/2, right, because it's a triangle. Base number 1, so slant number 1, that has 17, goes with 12. So we have, and there's two, there's two of them, right? There's two triangles, so I need to write down the two. So 2 times 1/2, but notice 2 times 1/2, do I really need to write that down? 2 times 1/2 is 1, right? So I don't really need to write the 2 times 1/2. So this is right here is the formula we're going to use, because the 2 and 1/2 cancel each other out. Right? So it's 1/2 because it's a triangle. So I want that in your notes. I want you to understand where it comes from. But there's two of them, and 2 times 1/2 is 1. So we're going to have our final formula is at the bottom here for the rectangular pyramid. So this is what we're going to use when you have a rectangular pyramid. New formula, right? So S is equal to, I want you to write all three things down so you understand where this formula comes from. And so it helps you figure out what measurements you need, what makes up base 1 and base 2, and helps you see why you don't need to include 2, because the half cancels with it. But our final formula is the area of the base plus one base measurement times one slant, other base times other slant. And it goes with the base and slant are on the same triangle. So that's how you can figure it out. So it's going to be 360 plus triangle number 1, 12, 17. And then triangle number 2, we have 30 times 10, right? And there we go. So all I gotta do is calculate it out. 360 plus 1, oops, that's not a 12. My 17 looks kind of 12-ish. 12 times 17 is 200, I should use a calculator for this, 204. So 204 plus 300 is going to give us 864. Oops, what happened to my 864 units squared? And there we are. So if you have questions on this one, let me know in class. I'll try to make a model for you. Maybe that'll help you. But just remember, you're going to use this formula if your base is a rectangle, not a square. All right, thanks for watching. Bye for now.